Welcome to series Addict. 2025 reminded us why television still matters. In a time when content is released faster than ever, this year's most memorable new series chose a different path. Instead of overwhelming viewers with noise and spectacle, they focused on atmosphere, character, and consequence. Crime stories became more intimate and psychologically grounded. Science fiction turned inward, asking uncomfortable questions about identity and control. Drama slowed down, trusting silence, performance, and mood. These series didn't chase trends, they defined them. Adolescence emerged as one of the most unsettling dramas of the year. Centered on a teenage murder case, the series avoids sensationalism entirely. There are no easy answers, no shocking twists designed for attention. Instead, the story lingers on guilt, fear, and the fragile emotional state of youth. The camera often feels uncomfortably close, forcing the audience to sit with the consequences rather than escape them. Adolescence is not an easy watch, but it is a necessary one. A reminder that the most disturbing stories are often the most realistic. Pluribus took science fiction back to its philosophical roots. Set in a world where human consciousness is fundamentally altered, the series is less concerned with explaining the mechanics of its premise and more interested in what it does to people. Identity, free will, and human connection sit at the center of the story. Pluribus moves deliberately, sometimes quietly, trusting the audience to engage with its ideas. It's a show that rewards patience and reflection, proving that science fiction can still be intellectually ambitious without relying on spectacle. Moblin pulls the viewer into the brutal reality of organized crime. This is not a romanticized underworld filled with charming anti-heroes. Power struggles, loyalty, and violence dominate every interaction. The series presents crime as a system, one that consumes everyone involved, regardless of intent. Mobland feels heavy, grounded, and unforgiving, portraying a world where survival often comes at the cost of morality. It's tense, relentless, and unapologetically dark. Murderbot offers one of the most original perspectives of the year. Told through the internal monologue of an android struggling with autonomy, the series blends science fiction with dry humor and existential anxiety. Beneath its sharp wit lies a surprisingly emotional story about freedom, purpose, and identity. Murderbot doesn't just ask what it means to be human, it questions whether humanity is something to aspire to at all. The result is a series that feels fresh, self-aware, and quietly profound. It, Welcome to Derry, expands a legendary horror universe by looking backward instead of forward. Rather than relying on constant jump scares, the series builds slow, creeping dread through atmosphere, memory, and inevitability. The town itself feels alive, shaped by cycles of violence and fear. By focusing on history and collective trauma, Welcome to Derry proves that horror can be as much about environment and psychology as it is about monsters. Ballard brings crime television back to a character-driven foundation. Following a determined detective navigating corruption, institutional resistance, and personal demons, the series balances procedural structure with emotional depth. The cases matter, but the toll they take matters more. Ballard understands that the most compelling crime stories are not about solving puzzles, but about the cost of seeking justice in a broken system. Duster injects energy into the crime genre with a distinct retro identity. Set in a lawless era, the series follows a dangerous partnership built on necessity rather than trust. Momentum drives every episode, supported by sharp dialogue and constant movement. Duster never forgets to be entertaining, but beneath its fast pace lies a story about survival and compromise. It's stylish without being shallow, confident without being careless. The Pit strips the medical drama down to its most essential elements. Set in a high-pressure hospital environment, the series avoids heroics and sentimentality. Instead, it focuses on exhaustion, moral compromise, and the quiet moments where life-altering decisions are made in seconds. Doctors and nurses are not portrayed as symbols, but as people pushed to their limits. The tension doesn't come from dramatic music or exaggerated emergencies, but from realism, the sense that everything could fall apart at any moment. The pit is grounded, uncomfortable, and deeply human. The task thrives on restraint. Much of the series unfolds in confined spaces, where dialogue and silence carry equal weight. The story revolves around power, responsibility, and impossible decisions, forcing its characters, and the audience, to confront moral ambiguity. There is no clear right or wrong, only consequences. By stripping the thriller genre down to its psychological core, the task maintains constant pressure without ever raising its voice. It's a series that proves tension doesn't require action, only intention. Dexter. Resurrection brings back an iconic character, but refuses to repeat the past. This continuation is darker, quieter, and more reflective than earlier chapters. Rather than celebrating the mythology of Dexter, the series interrogates it. Guilt, legacy, and the long shadow of previous choices shape every moment. The city feels colder, the tone more restrained, and the violence more meaningful. Resurrection understands that survival is not a victory, it's a burden. By focusing on consequence rather than spectacle, the series finds a surprising emotional depth. Taken together, these series represent a clear shift in modern television. 2025 was not about louder stories or bigger universes. It was about control, confidence, and trust. Trust in performance, in atmosphere, and in the audience's ability to engage without being constantly directed. These shows allowed scenes to breathe, characters to exist in silence, and themes to unfold naturally. Crime stories in 2025 moved away from glorification and toward consequence. Science fiction turned inward, asking who we are rather than what we can build. Dramas abandoned excess and embraced restraint. Across genres, the strongest new series shared one quality: they respected the viewer's intelligence. This year also reminded us that originality doesn't always come from inventing something new, but from approaching familiar ideas with honesty. Whether it was a crime drama that refused easy answers, a sci-fi series that prioritized philosophy over effects, or a revival that chose reflection over nostalgia, these shows felt intentional. They knew what they wanted to say, and when to stay silent. As we look back at 2025, it becomes clear that television is not in decline. It's evolving, slowly, deliberately, and sometimes uncomfortably. And that's exactly what makes it exciting. Now we turn the conversation over to you. Which series do you think we left out? And what was your favorite new show of 2025? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe.